Thank you so much for joining us here today. And as always, thank you for letting us come to your community and bring our brand of convention entertainment to you. This is going to be a little quick little event here. We've got it's a rare opportunity I have with a one-on-one with this amazingly talented actor. He's a veteran whose credits include Attack on Titan, Fairy Tail, Street Fighter 6, and of course, Boku no Hero Academia, more colloquially known in the United States as My Hero Academia. Please welcome David Matranga.
Yay! Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you here. All that fun stuff. Well, again, this is really cool because, like I said, we've known each other for like several years now.
Yeah.
It's always the groups. It's
Right.
oh yeah, let's bring out this cast, this cast, this
Right,
cast.
right.
And I've been begging for a Street Fighter panel for years, and I still haven't gotten one.
Yeah,
But
we should do one sometime. Yeah.
man, so we do. But hey, we finally got a one. So this is cool. So
But I like the one-on-one. Yeah. It's
yeah,
fun.
I know. So I can finally ask you this. I do it with my solo guests. What is the origin story? What drew you into becoming a performer?
You know, my first intro to performing was like 4th grade. My mom said, "I'm teaching summer school, and I'm not going to pay for childcare, so you're going to take summer school where I'm teaching it." And she was like, "You can take anything you want," and they had all kinds of electives and stuff. So I chose. It's funny because I still love these things to this day, but I chose a cooking class, a basketball class, and drama. And so I was in that class. We did auditions. I got the role of the Frog Prince in Frog Prince, right? So that was my intro to it. And I was like, this is cool, but it was also my intro to anxiety. I remember getting the script and being like, Mom, how am I going to learn these? This is a lot of things to say. So, and then, I was a musical. I played instruments through middle school. Long story short, found acting again in high school. And I was really like, man, I love this. I want to do this somehow. How do I do that? And that became my sort of mental gymnastics of, all right, how do I do this? Like, let me go train as an actor. And that's kind of where voice acting kind of became an offshoot, because in college I thought, all right, I love this. I really want to do it. What resources can I? So I thought, well, let's see what voiceover is. That will increase my opportunities. And that's when I made my first demo. And then after getting out of college, I got an agent and started doing some commercial voiceover. And yeah.
Yeah, I was say because we're talking the commercial stage and the stuff like that.
Right, right.
Chrome toothpaste gets teeth whiter.
Right, right. And I remember the first voiceover commercial I did. It was for a regional store called Palais Royal. It was a department store, and it was only in certain regions. They had bells.
I was about to say, that sounds like a brand of cigarette from the 60s or
Right,
something.
it was
Palais
crazy.
Royale.
Right, I know.
Smooth menthol flavor.
I didn't realize that, and when you do a voiceover commercial, you do the body of the spot, which is like the main part of the spot. And then there will be the tag, like, now at Bell's, or 20% off now at Palais Royal, whatever. And I didn't know that anytime you do a new tag, they have to pay you like it's a full commercial. So I did like 15 different tags, and I got this check in the mail, and I was like, this is unbelievable. I was like, so anyway, that was my intro to like voice acting. But then I got an audition for an anime, didn't really know what I was doing. I felt good as an actor, but and that started my anime journey, and then video game and all that. But yeah.
And you've kept up with, you've done stage work whenever you get a chance.
Yeah, that's my first love in a way. I love the relationship between the audience and the actor and the story that's happening. And yeah, I don't do as many as I did. For a while, there was a good decade where I made my living as an actor doing voice acting and 4 to 5 productions a year, a season. Around the country, or in Houston, I did a lot of stuff. They have a big regional theater there. But yeah, every once in a while, if there's a playwright or a new play or something that really, really interests me, or I want to work with a certain director, I'll go back and do it. 2022, I did a world premiere of a new play that was just like kind of the dream play. Like, it was challenging, it was edgy, it was topical, it was all the things you want,
What's been your favorite stage experience?
Probably that one. This play, yeah. I mean, I've done things.
I remember you were really excited when you booked that.
I mean, like, to me, the thing I love about a play is, you're in there and you really You can't be on any screen. You've got to, you watch the action, you listen to the words, and you're impacted in some way. And the audience doesn't usually realize that they're so important to there is no play unless the audience is there. Like, I mean, you could do it, but so yeah, I've done Shakespeare in the Park where I remember the first time I did that, I came out to do like the, soliloquy where you're talking to the audience, and it was like 5,000 people, like just a sea of people, and it was like, this is insane. It felt crazy. But yeah, American was the name of that play. It was spelled American, like K-I-N, and it took place in Maryland in like, so it was very political and topical, but the character I played was a kind of complicated guy who just had a newborn and hadn't made much with his life, was trying to figure out what to do. And in his world, which was very white, very Trump country, very, and not even really political as far as attached to one candidate or not, but just like, so his choice was to join the white supremacist organization. That's what he thought would give him community, and they make you take a DNA test. He finds out that he's got sub-Saharan African DNA, and he gets his friend to doctor it so he can join the thing. Anyway, it comes out, but it's a complicated, amazing play that like audiences were uncomfortable. They didn't know what to do. It's awesome. Yeah.
That's the first time I heard that plot. That's heavy.
Yeah, it was heavy, but this playwright, a good playwright will make you sort of care for the character, even though you're like, wait a minute, this guy's doing really like, at the very least, questionable things. But you sort of understand his. That's what I love about all of acting. Honestly, at the end of the day, when we talk about my hero, I always talk about, my favorite character is Stain, and the reason why is because he's complicated as hell. He's got this ideology. He's a vigilante, right? Which already brings up some complications. He's got an ideology that like it is smart. Now you can disagree with the way he goes about enacting it, but it's complicated. You can't land one way or the other,
There's especially for the darker characters, especially more in the fandom stuff. Like the play is obviously a little more human and nuanced, like that way too. But there's always this line I always say where it's okay to depict a character as, if they're in the antagonist, that we can feel empathy for them, but we shouldn't feel sympathy.
Right, sure.
In a sense too. It's like a recent example I did was Kingpin in the Daredevil series,
right?
Where you find out his origin. It's like, oh yeah, it's really what happened to him is awful, but he still does awful stuff.
Right, no doubt. Yeah.
And then you got Loki, where it's like, oh, he's awful. He does awful stuff, but he's so sexy.
Right.
It's like,
I mean, it's the reason people love villains. I mean, like there's the villain origin story is so complicated, and
and it doesn't need to, that's one thing I risk. Like, especially again, so some stuff. It's like, it's okay to have these genres. It's okay to have a mustache twirler. It's okay to have somebody who's just bad out of the gate. Exactly. They don't necessarily need a tragic thing.
Right, and maybe complicated is the wrong word. Like maybe it's more the word is nuance or whatever. There's nuance to it, but
absolute nuance in the execution. But it seems like there's almost a beholdenness to we have to explain why they're this way.
Sure,
it's like no, just go.
Yep.
This is the bad guy. Go.
Yep.
So with that, what when you cracked into an anime, at what point did you feel like you found your sea legs? You found your confidence? Like, okay, I think I've got my take on this now.
That's a great question. So my first anime ever was a long time ago. It was called Orphan, Sorcerer Stabber Orphan. He's a sorcerer who is one of the most powerful sorcerers. He goes to the Tower of Fang, which is the most powerful school, and it was 2 seasons. The second season was not as good as the first. And it's funny you ask me that because there was a reboot. There was like a 20-year anniversary of this. We dubbed 2 seasons of it. It wasn't as successful the second time around. They kind of went a little darker, and I think almost to your point, tried to explain it too much instead of and they missed, well, this is just my opinion, but what people loved about it, which is this badass sorcerer guy who's kind of had a little bit of an attitude, but also loved his sister, was trying to find his thing. And I went back and watched the original, and the first 6 episodes, and that's kind of a lot. That's 6 episodes. I could hear myself. The acting was fine. I felt good, but finding what it was to be a hero character in an animated type thing. I'd never done that. The director was working with me a lot, and they would say things to me like, "That's a little bit too." A lot of stage actors, when they come into the booth, they have too much diction and too much sort of pronunciation, and it sounds bad. It sounds wooden. It sounds not. I didn't have that problem, but my problem was the opposite.
I will defeat
yes,
you.
Yes. Which, hey, if you're playing a certain type of mustache twirly villain, that might work. But was that I was so filmic, like I was so like a film performance, that they had to be like, remember, you're this badass hero. You're doing these amazing things. Amp it up a bit. So that was my big challenge, was amping it up. But yeah, I think about after episode 6, I was like, oh, I know what this is now, and I could play within it, find it, and I felt more confident about it.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's been the craziest effort you've been asked to do?
Effort?
For those you don't know, effort is like a non-verbal thing. Like, okay, in this you're gonna be thrown into a wood chipper. So
yeah. Yeah, God. I did a show called Angel Beats, another older anime. Yeah, right. Fun and sad. It was one of that was that era of like slice of life-ish type stuff, where there was great relationships. It was funny, but it was also like, oh my God, I'm crying now. I had to do this scene where he gets ejected from his chair into the ceiling in a classroom. So just figuring out like what sound might you make if that happened to you, So just playing with that. And it was similar to the wood chipper. It was just like, you think about, what's the initial feeling of like, oh my God, and then the impact. And so, yeah, that one was pretty fun. But nowadays I've done it long enough where I'm like, how can I change this effort up? Like, if it's a surprise effort, like there's some standard things you can do for surprise, especially in anime. Anime sounds are very unique. It's one of the things that people struggle with when they start in anime, or if they were an actor in other types of things and they do anime. It's like, why are they even making a sound there? Like, you're just turning around your left shoulder. Does anyone make a sound? Like, you don't go like, or, huh? You don't do that. I mean, like, that doesn't usually happen. So you have to find the motivation for it. But yeah, react.
All those nani moments.
Yeah, exactly. Video game reactions are interesting too, because you're not really working with any animation, and they can be extreme. Like, people think about screaming is hard on your voice, but fight sounds are really hard on your voice, because fight sounds are all percussive in some way. It's all coming from that, and you do an hour of that, and it's like, oh, I need a minute.
Yeah, I was like, speaking of fight scenes, because again, I'm such a huge fan of that franchise, going all the way back to the original.
Oh yeah,
yeah, the original game when it was the
God.
2 pads.
Dude, that's crazy. That's right.
Yeah, so Street Fighter, how'd you book that?
Man, they were looking to go a different way with the voice, because the way it was explained to me, just where the character is and what he's been through. And I actually, it's the age-old story. I was at Anime Expo in LA, and this is years ago. I mean, this is like 2018 or something, because I think we started working on that in 19 and into 20. And I met a director there, and some of my friends had introduced me, and I was like, oh, I'm out in LA more. I'd love to audition. I'd love to audition for you or whatever. And we exchanged information, and I did my due diligence. A couple weeks later, just sent an email saying like, it was great to meet you, blah blah blah. And he was casting for Street Fighter.
Wow.
Got that audition, and then it was competitive. It was like 4 callbacks, which never happens now.
That's a rarity.
Sometimes you don't even get a callback; you just book the job. But this one was like, yeah, we want to do this. Okay, now we want to see you in person, and let's add this to it. And I know that it was between
to their credit, Ken is one of the core 4.
Yeah. They just announced. I think. Yeah, it's on. I'm so paranoid about announcing things, but it's on the socials. So, Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves is a new SNK fighting game that just came out, or it's been out, but Ken, they just announced a DLC of Ken and Terry, and so I've been sitting on that for a while. But so there's this iteration of Ken in that crossover, and so that's fun. Yeah,
Great.
yeah, it's been cool to see like the fighting game fans kind of come out of the woodwork about and talk about that stuff. It's cool. It's great. There was a Justin Briner who plays Deku in My Hero. He's a big fighting game guy, like, and pretty competitive. Like, he went to Evo and won a couple of matches. Like, even winning one in the preliminaries is really hard. Those, and he sent me a clip of the finals, and this is again like 3 years ago now. But the guy who won it was maining as Ken, and you could hear my "sit down and shut up" one of the lines on this big. Throughout this like Vegas arena. It was the coolest thing. I was like, I wish I was there. It was so cool.
Man, that's a trip.
Yep.
Wow. So, for deference to our great cosplayer up front here, we should probably talk about this property, especially since now it's like,
Oh man,
what a ride!
I know.
What a ride! And I know you heard me say this before every time I've hosted the panels, but to me, that show, it made anime fans into Western comic fans and comic fans into anime fans.
Yep.
Well, those fandoms were parallel lines to all the shows,
Right.
and it was the first thing that really got people kind of cross-pollinated and interested in the other.
It's so true. And what an amazing, I mean, that, like you said, there was a kind of a line. And the fact that got blurred it's pretty impressive, Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say about My Hero. I'm like, meaning there's so many things to say, but it's been almost 9 years.
And nothing you haven't said already.
Yeah, well, it's like people ask me at my table, really in the last 6 months, how are you feeling about the fact that it's going to be the last season, and I mean, it's bittersweet. I do like when things complete. I think that's cool, but I also always say, like, no matter what, in any type of acting career, on camera, on stage, television, whatever, it's very rare to live with a character for 8-9 years. Like, that's just very rare. It doesn't happen. So the journey is so personal to me now. Like, the character, there in many ways, there's a weird melding of my personality and Shoto, what he's been through. And you sometimes get into the booth and you're like, is this me, or do I know it's so close, And I think you hear actors talk about that when they've done a long run of a play or a series or something. So yeah, I'm sad about it ending. I heard recently Horikoshi, the mangaka, the creator, he just posted something about, since the manga ended, I've had more time with the production team of the anime, and there are going to be new scenes in the last season that aren't in the anime. And previously, he's been so busy churning out the manga that, he hasn't spent that much time with the anime team, with the production team. So I found that interesting, and I'm choosing to take it as there's so much more that they could do with My Hero, like with the story, with the characters. I hope that they kind of do the Dragon Ball thing and like go away for a couple years, 3 years, take as much time as you want, and come back with something else.
I think so too. And again, the fact that it's such a fertile environment that they've created too.
Yep.
And another thing too is that it got so many people so much good work and so many good characters to latch onto and stuff like that.
Right.
And if you guys want to, everywhere you go, hey, there's 3 of us here. My Hero Academia panel. Let's go.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, like anything else, when something gets popular, there's also those people who are like, that's too popular. It's too mainstream. I don't want to be a part of it. So there's that. And, I've heard all kinds of things over the years about, the fandom and this part of it and this part of it and all that stuff, which happens with anything that gets popular. But
I used to like you when you were underground.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Someone told me recently, I can't watch it. The first season is just too boring. And I'm like, okay, I hear you. It is slower than your traditional shonen. It doesn't come out of the gate in the same way, but it really pays off later, like in season 2, at the end of season 1. But yeah, I hope that Vigilantes is not the same creator, but approved by Horikoshi.
Yeah.
And it just finished its first season, and it's a prequel, so you get like a young All Might, young Aizawa, Midnight, Stain, and then you've got the core characters of that show as well. I think there's about, from what I've been told, the manga for that show probably will produce about 3 seasons if they do, all of it. So I love that property's in the world. Yeah. Right, I know. Right. So we'll see.
You never say never, too. But,
right. We'll see. I think that the fan base does feel like it'd be cool to see these guys, like, time skip into like 5 years into the future. They graduated from UA, right? They're out there trying to make their way in the world. What is it like? What are they doing?
And if that happens, I don't want it to be like an ending. I don't want to be, okay, we're going to show them this way too in their last great battle. No. Just pick up an interesting spots where they left off for a cycle.
Right.
And then you can let it go fallow again. Yeah. It's like not like we're bringing back for one last time for, like I always said for years, like in this early days of animation, Arrivederci Yamato. When they had a wonderful series and then did a movie and they killed everybody off.
Right.
And the fans were so upset that they turned it to a series instead and changed the ending.
Right.
Kept on going.
Yeah. And that's the thing about, I think, what really sets My Hero apart in many ways. I think more shows are doing this now, but like you said, the characters, there's even the minor, whatever, however you want to characterize that, characters have such great, like, interesting, nuanced backstories and things going on. You could really do anything,
No, and again, the whole extended cast. It's like everybody had great moments to shine. Yep. Everybody's got these characters now, and and kudos to Colleen.
Oh yeah,
for being able to just orchestrate all of that.
I cannot say it enough. Directors in any medium, theater, television, whatever, they always talk about the most important part of your job is the casting of it and the trusting of the actors that you've cast. And then, that's 90% of it. 10% is what you do in the booth, what you do on set, whatever. But she cast it so well. I don't even know how she did it. And it wasn't like she just cast the core group of people well. She kept casting it well. So, yeah.
How many of your peers have said on stage, like, well, everybody was getting booked for this, and then it was like she had, okay, I know there's a character come by for him, so I'm not going to cast him yet. It's like, so it'd be like a couple years into, okay, boom.
You're on
this thing.
Yeah,
and it was, oh my God, this character is great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And she had been working enough in the industry to have a good idea of different voice actors in different markets and who she wanted to use. And it's well done. And they're all just great people, great. I think everybody, too, really brings their A game. I mean, there are people who I talk to a lot at my table who are like, I'm getting this sign, but honestly, I didn't watch, well, my One Piece, I didn't watch in dub. But I love the property. I love that you're a cracker and whatever. Cool. No. I mean, I love that. I mean, it's the original. Those are the original creators, But there's something about the My Hero dub specifically that sort of, because it has a Western thing, and that's oversimplifying. There's other things, but it works somehow.
That honestly, that's the best explanation. It worked. Yeah. It really worked. There's all these other factors. The stars were right for it.
Yeah, and I think everybody got really invested in their roles, and and that's a credit to the audience. I mean, like, people that are watching it, we get fed by that. So when we went to our first panel after, like, the sports festival in season 2, which is really when the thing caught fire, we were just like, this is unbelievable. And the impact that it has on people, there's an interview online. There's a group in LA called Kinda Funny Podcasts. And they interviewed Jason, who plays Dobby, and Patrick, who plays Endeavor, and me about season 7 and everything that happened in that, with the Todoroki family. And we were sort of, not shocked, but pleasantly surprised how invested our fellow actors were in these stories, in this character, in the characters. We were all just geeking out on how invested we were. And a lot of that comes from the audience, how invested they are. We get even more invested, and we're like, man, we gotta make sure this is good. Like, you don't want to do this major thing that everyone's been looking forward to and then it just be like, wah, wah. So
Sweet too.
Yeah.
What looking back on that, either it was a moment in the character or maybe a moment with the fan interaction, but at the end of the day, what's your best My Hero memory?
Well, it's in categories in a way, but it's hard to say best. But
Or a favorite.
yeah, I mean, I've had many moments at panels like this where someone will, stand up, ask a question, and tell their story around. I had a guy stand up and said he worked with, I don't know what they call it these days, but at-risk youth or trouble, people that were, on the margins and that were had some type of behavioral issue or whatever, and literally used Todoroki's backstory and journey as a way in. And it was just so cool to know that in some small way I was a part of that inspiration, So there's moments like that all over the place with interaction. I mean, people will come to me and tell me how much the character means to them, and that always feels good. There are moments though, like in season 7, where there's a moment in the sports festival in season 2. A lot of Shoto's growth and journey is about accepting himself, accepting his own powers, owning them for something that they're a part of him and not from Endeavor, not from his mom necessarily, but something that he can own and use in his own way for good. Because prior to that, his whole journey was, I mean, his childhood was very military-like in a way that he was trained to be this thing. He was trained to use these things to do this. And so in the sports festival with Deku, Deku challenges him and says, like, this is your quirk. It's not his. Like, own it. And it really doesn't fully pay off until season 7. He acknowledges it, and he's starting to use them both at the same time. And there's this really cool X of like flame and ice, and there's a figure out for that. I hope they make a pop for it, but there's a figure with that out. Excuse me, but so that moment was really cool. Season 7 of him like owning it in a different way and fully owning it, Yeah.
So, do any member of our audience have any questions? We can form a line.
Yeah, no pressure, but if you guys want to ask anything,
Did you have a question?
I guess I was gonna ask like what it was like trying to go from. I know it's like started back in like season 2 with the sports festival, going from like that total like half denial of himself to like realizing that just because he inherited it doesn't mean that it's not his.
Right. I mean, I'm telling you, it was, people ask me a lot, like, how do you track the journey? How do you make sure that, the growth is there and all of that? And I always say, like, as long as you're being truthful in every moment, as long as I was truthful in the sports festival and it's authentic, then it will be authentic in season 7. But it really was I kind of go through, acting is a weird thing because really in a nutshell what it is it's convincing your body and your mind. I always talk about it like it's imagination on steroids. So we all have an imagination. You read a book, or even you just see someone having a conversation on the street. We're story-making machines. Our minds just go like, oh, I wonder what they're about. And he seemed angry, but, the other guy seemed a little, whatever, and you make up a story of what they, just in a nanosecond, your mind does that. So I always talk about acting is taking that to the next degree where you do it so specifically and detailed that you trick your body and your mind into like feeling like you're in that moment, right? They talk about how acting is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. So for me, I'm almost going through it. I mean, not almost, like I'm going through it the same way Shoto is on the screen, just there in the booth. And that's what makes it truthful from my voice and body through the mic onto whatever. So yeah, there was a sense of like relief, a sense of like peace, when he finally owned that, and he owned it in a difficult situation with his brother going through what he's going through. And he owns it, and then he shows up on the scene where Endeavor is, and they're all there, and it's hard to explain what it was like, but there was a sense of relief, a sense of like peace, of ownership, of like full acceptance of who he is. Now he can really maybe trust his friends more. All the things can be there now because that one thing has been done, So it was amazing. I mean, in a nutshell.
Good one. Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
Gifts.
Guys got
Gifts for questions.
Sure, well, yeah.
It's like a
What's your name?
one-on-one interview.
So you mentioned Angel Beats, and it made me think of a story that I have where Angel Beats was the reason I became an organ donor.
Wow.
So I was wondering if there's any show or character that made you decide to do something that you probably didn't think of, or
Right. It wasn't on my radar.
yeah.
God, I'm sure there is. It's now just about recalling it. God, I think to stay in the My Hero world, I mean, I've always played these characters, even Angel Beats, Clanad, where he's got issues with his family. I've always played these kind of characters that have like some type of traumatic backstory, or they're coming from a place of something that they need to overcome. And so this isn't as much of a, you made a decision, but more of a, I think when you are a creative of any kind, whether you're writing, directing, visual art, whatever it is, acting, you do have to learn. Empathy becomes like a really vital part of your creativity. And so like if I'm taking on a character, I can't judge that character. I've got to have an empathy for what they might be going through, villain, whatever they are. So playing the characters that I've played over the years has given me a different set of lenses to view people. That I would say that's the biggest impact, is not judging a book by its cover, not thinking someone has limitations because of XYZ, really being open to people's challenges as gifts and as something that makes them unique in the world. So, yeah, I would say specifically My Hero has really just opened me up to conversations about limitations, and maybe that's not even the right word to call them anymore, But yeah, I don't know if I have a thing that was like, oh, this show got me to do this, But yeah, that's a great story. That's awesome.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned the art trial. Says anything else on the horizon that you feel comfortable that you're allowed to talk about?
Yeah, I'm always so paranoid about it. I always say, people ask me, like, is there anything new you're working on? And I'm always thankfully connected to anime in some way, even if it's a smaller role or whatever. Typically each season of anime, I get to do something, that doesn't necessarily mean it's on anyone's radar or that it's a big show. So I usually take this time, I don't know if you guys have watched or heard of Trigun or Trigun Stampede, but Trigun Stampede is the reboot of the 1998, late 90s, early 2000s Trigun. And it's the creator wanted to redo it, and not redo it, but kind of do it in a different way. And so that's coming out in 2026. I hope I'm in it, who knows, you never know. But that's something I'm really looking forward to. The first season of it is really good. I really went down the Trigun rabbit hole, and so that, like I said, the Fatal Fury crossover with Street Fighter is coming out. Yeah, there's other, now we have to sign NDAs for auditions. Like literally, I do auditions. Yeah, there are auditions. I have at least 2 a week that come through where I can't submit for the audition unless I've signed an NDA. So even seeing, I can't even talk about what I've auditioned for, which I probably won't get. But so yeah.
Guys, I never go into that stuff anyway. That's
I know it's so
Is
crazy.
there something you really wanted that you didn't get?
I know.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, pretty much everything that I didn't get. Yeah, that's the answer.
Oh my goodness. This is where I would say, like, okay, everybody, why don't you come towards the stage this way? But I think we're just gonna bring them up on the stage. Yeah, you guys, why don't you come up on stage? We take our stage selfie, but in this case, it's just easier. Let's just
It'll just be
yeah
a photo.
Yeah.